Welcome to the Abkhaz World Podcast. In this episode, we'll talk about the unique traditions of Abkhaz Christmas, a celebration that blends Orthodox Christian customs with ancient pagan roots. We'll explore how people prepare for the holiday, the roles men and women play, and the special importance of fire in the rituals. We'll also look at what happens on Christmas Day, from offering a goat sacrifice to the sun god, to preparing a special meal to honor loved ones who've passed. These traditions reflect a deep connection to spirituality and family. So sit back, relax, and join us as we explore the fascinating world of Abkhaz Christmas.
Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going on a deep dive into a fascinating fusion of ancient rituals and Christian traditions. The Abkhazian Christmas. So picture this, celebrating Christmas with a twist, where the winter solstice plays a key role and ancient beliefs kind of intertwine with modern festivities.
That's right. It's a truly unique celebration reflecting the rich cultural tapestry of Abkhazia. And what's really fascinating is that we're going to be focusing on the traditions in rural eastern Abkhazia.
Gotcha.
Where they celebrate Christmas, or as they call it, Kirisa?
Kirisa.
A bit differently than in the bigger cities.
Yeah, so in the cities, it's more of the Christmas we all know.
Right.
But out in the countryside, they've held on to some really old practices.
Yeah, it's a glimpse into how celebrations evolve over time, you know?
Yeah.
You can see these layers of influence.
So Abkhazia itself, just to give everyone a little geographical context, is this region nestled along the Black Sea coast?
Beautiful area.
Steeped in history. They've got a long relationship with Christianity, but also with older beliefs, like pre-Christian polytheistic stuff.
Right.
And the cool part is that it all kind of gets rolled into their Christmas celebrations.
It's almost like a cultural tapestry weaving those threads together.
Exactly. So before we jump into the main event on Christmas Day, let's talk about the week leading up to it.
Okay.
Which our sources are calling Isia, meaning pre-Christmas, and it's packed with preparations.
And it's really fascinating, you know, this division of labor they have.
Oh, yeah.
It's very structured and gender-specific.
So the women are in charge of what the sources call the inner tasks, getting the house spotless, doing laundry, you know, the classic pre-holiday cleaning frenzy. But then things get really interesting.
They do.
Because they can find a year-old rooster under a basket.
And that rooster is a fascinating element, right? Because it pops up later in the rituals.
Yeah.
And the way they treat it beforehand is it adds this whole other layer of meaning.
Okay, I need to know more about this rooster situation.
We'll get to that.
What's the deal with that?
Yeah, but first, let's see what the men are up to. So while the women are busy inside, the men are handling the what they call the outer tasks.
Gotcha.
Gathering flour, cleaning the livestock areas. Definitely a lot of work involved.
Yeah, sounds like they're getting ready for a big celebration.
They are.
But our sources mentioned something about firewood and its connection to their ancient beliefs.
Yes, the firewood, and not just any firewood. They go for the dense stuff.
Okay.
Oak, beech, acacia.
Like the hardwoods.
The kind that burns really hot and bright.
So it's not just about staying warm.
No.
It's about, they've got this deep-rooted belief that fire has power. You know, it can actually ward off evil spirits during the longest nights of winter.
And there's another layer to this belief.
Good.
You know, they actually thought that by creating these huge fires, they could actually warm the sun.
Whoa.
They envisioned the sun as, like, stuck at its furthest point during the winter solstice.
Oh, interesting.
Weak and needing a boost.
That's incredible, their worldview, you know?
It really does.
Makes you think.
It speaks to a time when people were so attuned to the natural world. You know, the changing seasons, the power of the elements.
Yeah.
Fire wasn't just a source of heat.
Right.
It was a force to be reckoned with, something that could influence, like, the very course of nature.
So we've got women prepping the house and the rooster.
Right.
Men are out gathering special firewood to supercharge the sun. Sounds like quite the pre-Christmas routine.
And let's not forget the food.
Oh, right.
They're indulging in all sorts of delicious things during this pre-Christmas week.
What kind of things?
Preserved meats, cheeses, and get this black wine.
Black wine. What is that? It's some kind of special Abkhazian vintage.
No, it's actually just their way of saying red wine.
Oh!
Little linguistic quirk.
I love those little details. So they're feasting, they're keeping the fires burning bright.
Yes.
And preparing for Christmas Day.
Absolutely.
What happens next in this Abkhazian Christmas journey?
Christmas morning is when things really kick into high gear. It's all about connecting with the sun's return.
So what do they do on Christmas morning?
Imagine this. It's Christmas morning. The sun is just starting to peek over the horizon. And the head of the household is already up.
Okay.
Watching that sunrise.
It's like they're saying, hey, son, good to have you back.
Exactly. It's a recognition of the sun's vital role in their lives.
Yeah.
That feeling of renewal and hope.
Yeah.
But hold on, it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
There is this ritual called Ayu, and this one is truly unique.
Okay.
Picture the whole family standing together, facing the rising sun. Each person holding a heart-shaped cheese pie.
Wait, a heart-shaped cheese pie?
Right.
Okay, what's the significance of that?
And it's not just any cheese pie. It's made with a special kind of sour cream cheese called Abkhazian, which is traditional Abkhazian.
Gotcha.
So you've got this blend of symbolism and cultural significance baked right in.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. Every detail is so intentional.
Absolutely.
It's full of meaning.
So with these heart-shaped pies in hand, each family member offers a prayer for good health and long life. They specifically ask for the warmth of the sun and the strength of their own hearts.
I love that.
It's like they're drawing a direct link between the sun's life-giving energy and their own well-being.
I love that imagery, the heart-shaped pie symbolizing their own hearts, asking the sun for strength.
And here's where it gets really personal. After the prayer, they each eat their own pie.
Okay.
Without sharing or leaving a single crumb behind.
That's very personal, yeah.
It emphasizes that individual connection to the sun.
So they've welcomed the sunrise, offered their prayers with these amazing cheese pies. What happens next?
Well, this is where things take a bit of a dramatic turn.
Okay.
It's time for the goat sacrifice.
A goat sacrifice.
Yes.
Okay, this is getting intense.
And remember, this is not just any goat.
Okay.
It has to be a castrated male.
Whoa, why a castrated male?
It all goes back to their beliefs, right? Castrating the goat removes its ability to reproduce.
Okay.
So it's no longer an ordinary animal.
Yeah.
It becomes something sacred, set apart for the gods.
It's like they're elevating it.
Exactly.
Making it a more worthy offering.
And remember how they ritually washed the rooster earlier?
Yeah.
That same emphasis on purity applies here.
Okay.
The goat is also washed before the sacrifice.
So it seems like purification is a big theme here.
You're picking up on something important. That idea of cleansing and renewal.
Yeah.
It runs throughout these traditions.
The rooster, the goat, the fire.
It's like they're wiping the slate clean, preparing for a fresh start.
Okay, so we've got the purified, castrated goat. What happens next in the sacrifice ritual?
Picture the head of the household.
Okay.
Acting as a kind of family priest.
Okay.
He stands facing east.
The direction of the rising sun?
Holding the goat with his head uncovered.
As a sign of respect.
His prayer is this incredible mix of requests for protection, blessings from the sun, overall good fortune for the family.
I love how they blend these ancient beliefs with elements of Christianity. You know, even though it's called Christmas, it seems like they're still very much appealing to their traditional gods.
It's a fascinating example of how cultures adapt and evolve.
Yeah.
It's not about erasing the past,
right,
but rather layering those beliefs and traditions, creating something new and unique.
Okay, so the goat has been offered up, prayer has been spoken.
Yes.
What happens next?
Now get this. The whole family joins the head of the household.
Okay.
Also with their heads uncovered.
Okay.
And they all turn together 3 times counterclockwise.
Wow.
It's a deliberate mirroring of the sun's movement across the sky.
I bet that feels incredibly powerful.
It's about more than just individual belief. It's about the family and the community coming together, participating in this ancient ritual.
So after the turning, what happens to the goat?
The goat is then sacrificed with its head facing east towards the rising sun.
Okay.
And remember that rooster that was confined under the basket?
Yes.
It too is sacrificed and roasted, further connecting the rituals to the sun's symbolic power.
So there's sacrificing both the goat and the rooster.
Yes.
I'm assuming all of this meat will be part of their Christmas feast.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
The meat is prepared for the big feast.
Yeah.
But there's another fascinating ritual that takes place before everyone sits down to eat.
Oh.
One that highlights the Abkhaz people's deep respect for their ancestors.
Oh, how do they honor their ancestors?
After the sacrifices, the family sets what they call a black table for their deceased relatives.
Yeah, black table.
It's a separate table with portions of all the dishes from the feast.
Wow, so they're sharing their Christmas meal with their ancestors.
Yes.
What's the significance of calling it a black table, though?
It's not about the color of the table itself, but rather a way of describing the meal as being for those who have passed on, who are now in the darkness, right?
Right.
It's a poignant way of acknowledging that even in death, their ancestors are still part of the family.
Yeah.
And play a role in their well-being.
That's really touching.
So they're honoring their God through the sacrifice, and then honoring their ancestors through this special meal.
It's like they're weaving together their past, present, and hopes for the future all in one celebration.
Exactly.
But they don't include goat meat on the black table.
That's right.
I thought goat meat was considered sacred.
It is sacred, but there's another layer to it.
Okay.
You see, while they believe the goat is a divine offering,
Uh-huh.
they also associate it with evil spirits.
Wait, so the goat is both sacred and associated with evil spirits?
It is.
Okay.
It seems to stem from the goat's perceived cunning and mischievousness, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like this dual nature makes it too risky to share with the spirits of their loved ones.
That's so interesting. I never would have guessed there was so much complexity to their beliefs about goats.
It really shows how rich and nuanced their understanding of the world is, even with seemingly simple things, like animals.
So if they don't offer goat meat to the ancestors, what do they include on the black table?
They carefully select portions of every other dish, making sure to include the most significant foods from the feast. Yeah. You've got the abista, the hearty cornmeal porridge, akanesh, the savory cheese pie, ailen, a cheesy porridge, a chana, a type of dumpling, and a halu, a sweet wheat porridge with honey.
It's like they're preparing a full-fledged feast for their ancestors.
Exactly. And it's not just about the food itself,
right,
but the act of preparation and presentation.
Yeah.
It's a tangible way of showing respect and love for those who came before them.
Yeah.
Ensuring that they're remembered and honored during this special time of year.
It really highlights how much they value their ancestors and their connection to the past. Mm-hmm. But how do they actually invite their ancestors to the table?
This is where the head of the household steps in again. He stands facing the open door and recites a kind of welcoming speech, urging the spirits to come in, wash their hands, relax, and enjoy the meal.
That's beautiful.
It's such a beautiful and poignant gesture, almost as if he's welcoming living guests to their home.
That's such a powerful image.
Mm-hmm.
It really blurs the lines between the living and the dead, making their ancestors an active part of the celebration.
It speaks to a worldview where the past is not truly gone, but continues to exist alongside the present.
Yeah.
And this connection to their ancestors is further emphasized by the fact that they only eat their Christmas feast after the black table has been cleared.
Ah, so they're giving their ancestors priority?
Precisely.
Making sure they're honored before they themselves partake in the feast.
It's a beautiful testament to the respect and reverence they hold for those who came before them, acknowledging their continued presence and influence in their lives.
Okay, so the ancestors have been honored, the black table is cleared.
Right.
Finally, it's time for the living to enjoy their Christmas feast.
You got it.
Okay.
But even the feast itself isn't just a casual affair.
Right, it's a carefully structured event.
Yes.
With a strict hierarchy and etiquette.
That's right. The seating arrangements, the etiquette, might differ from family to family, but the underlying principle is always the same.
Honoring tradition.
Honoring tradition and respecting elders.
It's like a beautiful blend of joyous celebration and deep reverence for their customs.
Absolutely. And while these traditions might seem quite formal and structured, there's also a lot of warmth and love woven into them.
Yeah.
It's a time for families to come together, share stories, strengthen their bonds.
It's like those traditions provide a framework for their celebrations.
Yes.
Ensuring that everyone feels connected to their shared history and heritage.
You said it perfectly.
And isn't that what holidays are all about?
That's it.
Connecting with loved ones, celebrating our shared values.
Oh, exactly.
And creating lasting memories.
And these Abkhazian Christmas traditions certainly provide a unique and fascinating perspective on how those values can be expressed and celebrated.
Absolutely. It's been a truly enriching deep dive so far,
It really has.
full of surprising details and thought-provoking insights.
What strikes me is how deeply connected these traditions are to nature.
Yes, from the sunrise observation to the special firewood, the symbolism of the goat and the rooster, it's also intertwined with the rhythms and cycles of the natural world.
And I think that's something we can all learn from,
Yeah.
In our modern technology-driven world, it's easy to lose sight of that connection to nature.
It's true. We get so caught up in our busy lives
Right.
that we forget how much we depend on the natural world.
But these traditions remind us that we are ultimately part of nature.
Yeah.
And that our lives are deeply affected by its rhythms and cycles.
I love that remembering our place in the grand scheme of things makes you wonder if we could benefit from incorporating a little more of that connection to our own lives, even in small ways.
It's not about abandoning our modern lives,
Right.
but rather finding ways to reintegrate those ancient wisdoms, those reminders of our interdependence with nature.
So true. This has been a fascinating journey into the world of Abkhazian Christmas traditions.
It really has.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious about something that wasn't explicitly addressed in the research you sent over.
Oh, I like where this is going.
What's got you curious? We've talked about the rituals, the symbolism, the history, but what about the emotions?
Yes.
What does it actually feel like to celebrate Karisa?
Right?
What emotions are these traditions evoking?
That's a wonderful question. Yeah, we've covered how Karisa is celebrated, but now let's get into the heart of it. Like, what's the emotional experience like?
Right, because all these rituals and symbols are fascinating, but it's the feeling behind them.
The feeling, exactly.
That brings it to life.
So put on your speculative hats here for a second. What kind of emotions do you think might be running high during an Abkhazian Christmas?
Well, just picturing that Christmas morning scene.
Yeah.
The family gathered at sunrise, watching the sun come up after the longest night.
Yeah.
I imagine a sense of awe.
Definitely awe, especially when you consider that they believe they've played a part in helping the sun to return.
Yeah.
It's like a collective sigh of relief, a feeling of renewal, hope.
And then the goat sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's a life being offered.
Yeah.
A plea for protection and prosperity. There's got to be some serious reverence mixed in with that awe.
Absolutely. Reverence for the forces they believe are at play, for the ancestors they're honoring, for the traditions.
And speaking of the ancestors,
Yeah.
I bet there's a deep sense of connection, too.
Connection, yes.
Not just to their family history, but to the land itself.
It's like these traditions are grounding them.
Yeah.
Rooting them in something bigger than themselves.
And not just connection to the past, but to each other in the present, too.
Yeah.
Think about those shared tasks.
The
men and women working together, the family turning in unison during the sacrifice.
Absolutely. It's also beautifully interwoven.
It creates a sense of belonging, shared purpose.
Yeah.
And then after all those preparations and rituals, when they finally sit down to that feast,
Yes.
I bet there's just an overwhelming feeling of gratitude.
Gratitude woven into the fabric of the celebration.
For the blessings they have, for the food on their table, for their family and their community.
And the joy, the sheer delight of feasting together after all that hard work.
Right. Imagine the stories being shared.
Yes.
Maybe some music and dancing, laughter filling the room.
That lightness,
Yeah.
celebration, release.
And through it all, I think there's an underlying current of hope,
No.
anticipation for the year ahead.
They've appeased the gods,
Right.
honored their ancestors, reaffirmed their bonds.
Yeah.
They're ready for whatever comes next.
It's like they've hit the reset button for their lives.
Yeah. Beautifully put. Karisa isn't just about remembering the past. It's
Yeah.
about actively shaping the future.
And that mix of emotions.
All those emotions,
Awe, reverence,
connection.
gratitude, joy, hope.
It all blends together to create this incredibly rich and meaningful experience.
It's remarkable.
It is.
And it makes me think about our own holiday traditions.
I was just thinking the same thing.
You know, and the feelings that they evoke in us.
Maybe we can all take a cue from the Abkhazians and dig a little deeper into our own celebration.
What are the stories behind our rituals?
Right. What emotions are we carrying with us? What are we hoping for in the year ahead?
Yeah, it's a reminder that even familiar traditions can hold hidden depths, you know.
Layers of meaning waiting to be uncovered.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you, dear listener.
Yes.
To take a moment to reflect on your own holidays.
What are the sights, the sounds, the smells, the feelings?
Yeah, because in the end, it's those emotions,
the shared experience,
that truly connect us.
Not just to our own families and cultures,
but to the larger human story.
Beautifully said.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Adonai dra lasharana yaskapchet izbanzaruyala ayatra parmatzwaz ayatra kont idrzan warayashara amra wechurkhwarei warachukhinti ikhalo amra udurei hahdu iumaz achzabsham.